All right, let's just jump right in. There's this question you see everywhere online, right? It's always packed with a ton of emotion, and it basically boils down to this. But what if the answer isn't really about malice, or any one person, or some recent headline? What if the friction we're all seeing? What if it's baked into the system? Something, structural? Well, the source material we're digging into today suggests that's exactly what's going on. It argues that to really get it, you have to look past the simple idea of bad intentions and instead focus on two huge things: historical memory and the very structure of the Chinese state. So to really understand what's happening now, we've got to go back, way back. We need to peel back the layers, starting with this one core idea that's been shaping China's view of the world for centuries. So you've got this concept, sinocentrism. And look, this isn't just some dusty old idea from a history book. It kind of creates this subconscious default setting. A world where a hierarchy of nations feels more natural than the modern Western idea where every country is an equal. And you can probably see where this is going, right? When you have that mindset, it can easily lead to diplomatic situations where other countries feel like they're being looked down on. And boom, you've got friction. But then that whole worldview, it got absolutely shattered. We're talking the 1800s and early 1900s. This period is known in China as the Century of Humiliation. It was a time when foreign powers basically carved up the country, forced it into these so-called unequal treaties, and pretty much semi-colonized it. And this is so important to grasp. This isn't just a chapter in a textbook. It's a deep, collective national trauma. That phrase, "we will never be looked down on again," it's not just a slogan. It is a powerful, almost primal force driving modern Chinese policy. It's this absolute conviction to never be seen as weak or pushed around again, ever. Okay, so with that historical trauma in mind, let's add the next layer. Let's see how that memory connects with the internal logic of the state itself. And believe me, this is where it gets really interesting. You see, the Communist Party's legitimacy, its very right to rule, doesn't come from the ballot box. It comes from a kind of social contract. It's built on delivering three key things to the Chinese people. 1, economic growth. 2, national prestige. And 3, defending every inch of its territory. And here's the kicker. Think about it. What looks like a totally reasonable compromise to us on the outside, maybe on a trade deal or some small island dispute, can look completely different from the inside. It can be seen as failing on one of those three core promises. So it's not just a simple negotiation. It becomes an existential risk to the party's authority, something that could stir up real trouble at home. And then you throw the cultural concept of mianzi, or face, on top of all that. I mean, we all kind of get the idea of saving face, right? But imagine that on a national scale for a government whose entire legitimacy is built on looking strong and erasing past humiliations. The need to save face becomes absolutely critical. And that's why a seemingly small dispute can blow up so fast, because for them, backing down isn't just a strategic retreat, it's a massive, humiliating loss of prestige back home. Okay, so you've got the historical baggage and this internal pressure to always look strong. Now, let's see what happened when China's unbelievable economic boom met the rest of the world. Because, as it turns out, there was a huge misunderstanding about what was supposed to happen next. See, from Beijing's point of view, the logic seemed pretty straightforward. Our growth is going to make everybody richer, so naturally the world is going to respect us for it. It makes sense, right? Except, that's just not how it played out. What happened instead was that certain practices, things like forced technology transfers or huge state subsidies, which China might have seen as just, the normal way a developing country plays catch-up, were seen totally differently by everyone else. They saw it as unfair, as China playing by its own set of rules to get ahead, and that didn't create respect. It created resentment. Which brings us right up to the present day, to the most visible part of this whole story. We're talking about the really dramatic, really public shift we've all seen in how China deals with the rest of the world. For a long time, the old policy was something called Taoguangyang Hui, which basically means hide your strength, bide your time, keep a low profile. But under Xi Jinping, that got thrown out the window. It was replaced with wolf warrior diplomacy, a super assertive, totally unapologetic, and often confrontational new approach. And again, this wasn't just a random mood swing. It was strategic. This tough guy act on the world stage serves a really important purpose inside China. When you're dealing with domestic challenges like your economy slowing down, projecting strength abroad is a surefire way to rally nationalist support and keep everyone focused. So, we've looked at the history, the internal logic of the party, the diplomatic shifts. After all that, what's the one big thing you should walk away with? It really comes down to making one crucial distinction. Think about it. In countries all over the world, you have Chinese immigrants, students, business people, and they're often seen as hardworking, ambitious, and are generally well-liked. The friction we're all talking about, it isn't personal. It's political. It's a reaction to the actions of a state, not its people. So when you really boil it all down, the dislike people talk about isn't aimed at the people, but at these specific things. The state's aggressive behavior, this feeling that there's one set of rules for China and another for everyone else, and a hostile attitude toward any kind of criticism. There's this one quote that I think just nails it perfectly. It describes the situation as a great power that has not had the opportunity to learn how to act like one. And that just captures the whole idea, doesn't it? It's not about being malicious. It's about this incredible mix of historical trauma and a political system that's having a really hard time figuring out how to act now that it's a major player on the world stage. So here's the bottom line. Understanding this whole structure, it doesn't excuse anything, but it does explain it. It shows us that the friction we're seeing isn't just random or emotional. It's systemic. It's built in. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. Maybe, just maybe, China's real fear isn't about being disliked. Maybe it's about becoming one of the most powerful nations on Earth without ever being truly respected.